mind for today. I just want to show you some prep things that I do for when I throw dinner together at the end of the day. So I'm going to make vegetables. I'm not going to eat all of the vegetables I make today. I'll put them away for another time. But the two that I have, and I've made videos for these before, are Brussels sprouts and butternut squash. And I'm thinking that this evening, those will be my vegetables, and then I'll make some kind of stir fry with the Morningstar Farms Griller's chicken. I had trouble finding this particular vegetable patty lately, so I saw them today, and that's what I want. I'll probably, in the evening, I'll cut that patty up. If I'm going to have dinner with someone else, then I'll do 2, or 3 or 4, however many people. But definitely 1 patty per person. And I'll slice them like you would into strips, like chicken strips, but they're not. Though you can use chicken, that's just fine. And I will simmer fry them with, I think, onion and green pepper. And for the stir fry this evening, for the dinner, the entree part, I'll probably use this Soul seasoning. That's what it's called. And you have to be careful because it is high in sodium. 18% of some people's daily intake worth. So just be mindful. Oh, it's made from salt. It's the #1 ingredient. I know. I don't have high blood pressure, but everyone should be careful with their salt. Garlic, sugar, red pepper, onion, and paprika. Now I'm the guy, I shouldn't have used this. Bad idea, bad example. See, even I have to stop and remember to read those labels. I don't know everything. So, for my stir fry, I'm going to use Old Bay seasoning, which actually, this one only has 7% of somebody's daily requirement for sodium. And I don't think it has any sugar in it. Celery salt? No sugar. I mean, sugar has a place, but not in my vegetables. Okay. So when I make the stir fry, I'm going to use Old Bay seasoning. The butternut squash, okay, I bought a long one. I try not to get the ones that are narrow here and very wide at the end because this is all seeds. So I'm trying to get less seeds and more flesh. And I'm going to stab it ferociously with this knife, and then I'm going to microwave it for about, I'll start with 5 minutes. The point of the microwaving is to partially cook it, and you don't have to do that. Another way is to boil it, or to skip the pre-cooking altogether. She says as she chops off a finger. That'd be terrible. So I'm going to microwave it for 5 or 10 minutes to get the skin soft so I can cut it in half and get those seeds out before I bake it the rest of the way. Butternut squash doesn't usually need any spices, and it certainly does not need butter. Try it without butter if you're used to eating it with butter, and you'll see, trust me. Sometimes I sprinkle cinnamon on it, but often it's sweet and you don't need that. I don't want to set it right in here. I would wrap it in a white paper towel if I had one. I'm not sure that paper towels are safe for the microwave. I feel uncomfortable using one that has coloring in it. So I'm going to use these white coffee filters, and I have no idea if a person should put coffee filters in the microwave. So just be mindful that there's a lot we don't know about microwaves. We're learning that you should only use a certain plastic in the microwave, if any. You should be careful not to use saran wrap unless it says it's been tested for use in the microwave. And the testing is to make sure it doesn't create some chemical that in moderate to high doses would cause us harm. Okay, so 5 minutes, then I'll test it. My Brussels sprouts, what I bought today, they're small. They're like little baby Brussels sprouts. And I've had them sitting out on the counter since I got home, about an hour ago. I didn't put them in the freezer because I was going to cook them, so they're partially thawed out. I'm going to put foil on the bottom of the can. Lightly spray the foil in case with some olive oil. Spritz. like. You can use these two and add another, like onion powder or garlic, or cumin. Make sure you try to get them all. Don't use as much pepper flakes as you do curry. And you can either cover it with another piece of foil, or sometimes I'll put a cookie sheet over it. And when I first cook it, like this, and I'll check it, you know, sometimes I'll shake it around and eventually take the top off if I want them to get a little bit brown or dry out. Sorry, my camera turned off while I was talking, and I also could see then that you didn't see this pan, so I'm using a rectangular pan for the Brussels sprouts. I'm going to cover them with this lid. I've got the oven at about 375. So I would do it between 300 and 400. We can set it right here in the middle. And I'll set the timer. You know, you can always cook it more, but you can't cook it less. So I'll set it for 20 minutes and I'll check them. Move them around, stick a fork in them. Stick a fork in them and see if they're done. Oh, how lame. The butternut squash, while I was fixing my camera, the 5 minutes was up, and the butternut squash, because it's so large, was still very hard, so I put it on for another 5 minutes. And well, it's very hot now, but I think it still needs to cook a little bit more before I can easily get a knife through it. And after I cut it in half, before I scrape out the seeds, I'll probably let it sit a minute because it'll be too hot. So, here, let me put it on for 3 more minutes. And I should just go ahead and make the stir fry. Excuse my back. And I can heat it up later. Sorry. So, I have a green pepper that was already started and some onion, and I'm just going to use like what would probably amount to about a 1/4 cup of sliced onion and about a half a green pepper, because I'm going to make it for 2. And you probably, unless this is your first video, you know the simmer fry, where I spray the pan with just a spritz of olive oil. I don't actually pour olive oil, I just use one of these sprays. But some people have misters that will do the same thing. I don't know if this frying pan is big enough. Probably not. Should try to do things on the fly. As if there were any other way. So, it's very simple. Slice up some vegetables, slice up your patty, or whatever protein source that you are using, and it's good to let them start to thaw out, so you can actually cut into them, but don't let them thaw out all the way, because then they're mushy, and try to start frying them before they become mushy. So each patty, let's see, for probably about 6 or 7 slices per patty. So they're about 1/4 inch or less thick. And you can put them all, you can put all this in the frying pan at the same time. Make sure your frying pan is big enough. Trim off the white parts of your green pepper. I always wash my produce when I get home from the store. So it was in the refrigerator already washed, but I definitely wash it. I use a little, kind of like a sponge that I have, so depending on, like, not on peaches, because that will just take the skin off them, but to wash off residue, pesticides, I hope not, but probably so. I don't buy it organic because I can't afford it, and I'm not convinced it's necessary at this point. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't, or that organic is bad for you by any means. It's just something I don't do. Which surprises people. Almost as much as my drinking a diet soda, which I also do. Didn't even turn it on. Okay. Which gives me a chance to find a better frying pan, actually. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to use pot holders to get this out. Let it set here. Oh yeah, it's softer now. So this big one, this is probably the longest I've microwaved one. Almost 15 minutes. But I checked it in between. You want to be careful, especially with spaghetti squash, because I've had one blow up in there before. I don't think you need to watch me do this. I'm going to simmer fry. That means I'm going to spray the pan and start to saute these. You know, it's a good idea to put the spices on the patties themselves, since we're not using oil. So there's the spice on the patties and a little bit on the vegetables. Simmer fry means you spray the pan with your oil source. As the pan starts to dry up, then you add little bits of water to let it simmer fry. So it literally goes shh, and it cooks the food a little bit. And you might add more water, shh, to cook the food a little bit. And then you can add like a half a cup and actually let it simmer in the water until it's the texture you like. That's how I do it. Okay, let's just go for it then. I found a bigger pan, so I needed a bigger burner. So that's warming up. I'll spray it. I've got some water over here. Getting organized now. And a wooden spoon. I have cut my butternut squash in half and letting some air get to it. I'll need a spoon to scrape out. I'll use this one to get the seeds out. And on the cutting board, seasoned and ready to go, are the vegetable patties and the vegetables, onions and peppers. So we'll do that first. My timer's not going. Okay, I think maybe 5 minutes have gone by. So my Brussels sprout timer, somehow I turned it off. So you want a frying pan big enough so that everything gets to the pan. Okay, so that'll be fine for a minute before I need to stir it or add water. So over here, I wonder if I should bring the camera over. Here is my still pretty warm butternut squash. This really is a big one. So, you can see it's very firm here but soft here. Sometimes I just take off the whole bottom, you know, because it's going to cook so much faster than everything else that I don't even need it, but we'll leave it here for this time. So seeds are gone. I am putting it on this cookie sheet because it's not cooked. It's still hard on the long part. I'll spray that just so it doesn't stick. Face down. You can often tell, well again, it depends on how you like your vegetables, but I like mine soft, I say again and again. See that bottom just basically came off there. You have to watch because sometimes, you know, it'll cook. If it's thinner, it's going to cook there faster. One way, you know when they're done is when you open the oven and press down and it gets really soft. It'll be soft. It'll mush down. Same with your spaghetti squash. Okay. I like for the vegetable patties to get brown. The strips now, they're strips. Turn over so all sides will get a little brown before I simmer fry. Because once you start adding the water, it doesn't sear or brown anymore. It doesn't sear or brown anymore once you start adding the water. It just starts to cook. Okay, cook. Okay. I'm going to slide these in next to the Brussels sprouts and You know, I'll check them in 15 minutes too, but you cook it until it's soft. And I have to make room. I have to turn them long ways. This is a much bigger oven than the one I had at my last place, remember? I would not be cooking all this food at the same time. Okay, so that's in there. Now the simmer fry thing is just a splash of water. Simmer it away. If you have a fan, turn it on. And so let that water cook the vegetables until it starts to evaporate, and then add a splash more. In case you've not seen me do it, I'll bring the camera over. Otherwise, that's basically it. I'll partition the vegetables later so into serving sizes, or just a couple of batches, and freeze what I don't use tonight. And when I plate up dinner, each plate will have half of that stir fry, and then probably a half a cup of Brussels sprouts, and a half a cup or a cup of butternut squash. Half. The serving size would be like half of each. But Brussels sprouts and butternut squash, to the best of my understanding, they both have the same amount of calories per gram, 0.4, and that's not a lot for the top. So if you had a cup, it wouldn't do you any harm at all. Yeah. Remember, we already seasoned this, and this is to serve 2 people. And if you wanted to, you could serve it on shirataki noodles or spaghetti squash, or just like this, or you could stick it in Joseph's pita bread too. Okay, here are two of them plated up for the small appetite. So this dinner has less than 200 calories, much less actually, and much more volume than you would get from a lean cuisine with the same amount of calories or even more calories. So roasted Brussels sprouts, baked butternut squash, and a stir fry with Morningstar Farms chicken type veggie patty.